Hi, my name is Lee. I am retired. I moved here to Myrtle Beach from Northern Virginia. I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps. I also spent an additional 18 years working for the Marine Corps as a civilian. One of the things that attracted me to Myrtle Beach was it was pleasant weather, and it was also a large golf community down here, and I love to play golf. What brought me in here was an injury actually that took place ironically on the golf course. I started experiencing some sciatic nerve pain in my right hip, and it was bothering me for the most part in the morning when I would get out of bed for about the first 10 minutes or so, and then it would kind of loosen up and I could get on with the rest of my day. However, when I started doing physical activity like trying to swing a golf club or working out in the gym, which I also like to do, that pain would kind of kick in and tell me, whoa, wait a minute, stop, something's wrong with you. That helped me decide to start looking for some options. I didn't necessarily want to go to my primary care physician because a lot of times when you go to primary care, and I'm not knocking those guys, they're like, well, okay, yeah, we're going to give you a prescription. Take it easy for a couple of weeks, and if it's still bothering you, come back and see us. That's not necessarily what I was looking for. You also have the other extreme where they'll take a look at it and say, that's pretty bad. If you want it to stop, we might have to do a little bit of surgery. I didn't necessarily want that either. If it came to that, that's fine, but that would have been a last resort for me. Knowing some folks who had been to chiropractors before, and I had never been to a chiropractor before, I saw that as at least a good first option. Let's take a look at that and see if maybe there's something we can do that will, one, not require surgery, and two, give me a good plan, get me on a path to recovery so that I could go back to doing the kinds of things that I like to do. Even though I'm retired, I still like to engage in physical activities. Like I said, I like to golf 2 or 3 days a week, and I like to go to the gym 2 or 3 days a week and work out. I like to lead a healthy lifestyle. I'm not necessarily training for the Olympics. I'm not training to be a Marine anymore. But I don't want my lifestyle to be hindered by my inability to do physical activity. So I found this organization literally because I saw them. There's a pharmacy right across the parking lot that I go to all the time, and there's a dry cleaners around the corner that I go to all the time. So this was my first stop. And I came in and I talked to Dr. Scott and I talked to other members of the staff. They sat me down and talked to me a little bit about what they do. They took some x-rays, and it was the x-rays that were the big convincer for me. When they actually explained to me what was going on in my spinal column, in my neck area, things that had kind of built up over the years, then I could see that the nerve pain that I was starting to sense was basically, I don't want to say an accident waiting to happen, but it was a long time coming. I'd had a lot of fun with this body in my youth. So looking at the x-rays, and I'm not a doctor, although just like everybody else, I like to practice medicine without a license. When they showed me the x-rays of my spinal column and told me this is what's wrong, and that's what's wrong, I looked at it and I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. When I got home, I did a little bit of research on my own, again, practicing medicine without a license, pulled up an x-ray online of what a healthy spine looks like. And I took a look at it and I said, mine doesn't look like that. Now I see what they're talking about. Okay, so they worked out a game plan for me using what are called PRP injections, which is platelet-rich plasma, where they actually draw blood from you, put it in a centrifuge machine, draw out the platelet-rich plasma, and inject it back into the injured area. Didn't know a whole lot about it. had never heard about it. Again, I went home and researched it, and when I found out that a lot of athletes, amateur and professional, have done this before and it aids in the recovery process, I thought, well, this sounds like it might be a good idea. Anytime you start talking about injecting someone in their back, that was a daunting idea from my perspective. They're not actually injecting you in your spinal column, but they're putting the injections in your back. I was also comforted by the fact that they're not necessarily injecting you with foreign substances. They're injecting you with your own plasma, and that helps in the healing process. After a week, I noticed the difference. And I attribute a couple of things to it. One is the PRP injections. The other one is the physical therapy plan that they put me on. It wasn't just, okay, we're going to put these injections into you and come back and see us in about a month and let us know how it's going. No, they actually put together a plan where they had me come in 2 days a week, every week for several weeks. Everybody's insurance company is a little bit different when it comes to primary care versus going to a chiropractor. My insurance company maybe didn't cover as much as I would have liked, but that which they didn't cover was certainly affordable for me. And the company will work with you to work out a payment schedule so that it's not quite as scary, because when you look at it and say, well, wow, this is like a couple of mortgage payments here, or what could be a couple of mortgage payments. I get it. I understand that. The median income down here in South Carolina, and when you start talking about getting up into 4 figures for a treatment, but it's over the course of 3 months, and to spread it out, to space it out, I found it to be highly affordable. I also found the treatment to be highly effective. Within a week, I was no longer experiencing that sciatic pain when I got out of bed. Didn't necessarily mean I was ready to resume full-blown physical activity, because just like anybody else, I was a little bit apprehensive about getting back into it. Although they were always advising me, it's probably a good idea if you do, because it'll help you keep things loose in there. It'll help, help your body get back in the groove. But you always hear these stories about athletes who they try to make a comeback and they come back too soon, and the injury that they had can sometimes get even worse. And again, since I'm not training for the Olympics, I didn't feel the need to get back in the game, right away. So it took me about that second week. I started to resume my training, going back to the gym, only I was doing a lot less aggressive training at first, just to kind of get myself back in the groove. After that third week, I started playing golf again. And before I started playing golf again, every now and then I would just, while I'm at home, I would break out a golf club or two and just kind of swing it, just to see how my body felt. And I could see that I was able to swing a golf club pain-free. And based on how I had been feeling before I started my visits here, wow, what a difference. So I went out and played 9 holes with some friends of mine. And here's the interesting thing. I was actually hitting the ball farther than I was before I got injured. Even my playing partners noticed that I was hitting the ball probably about a half a club further, especially hitting my driver off the tee. I mean, I was bombing it. And they were like, wow, what happened to you? And considering I hadn't played in 3 weeks. And one of the things that I attribute that to was, one, being pain-free, but 2, the physical therapy classes I was taking got me into a routine where I was stretching a lot more, and I had actually gained flexibility. That made a huge difference, because in sports and in golf, if you have increased flexibility, that means you have an increased range of motion, and an increased range of motion can equate to speed and power. So, did I make the right decision to come here? Absolutely. Would I recommend it to someone who was suffering, some kind of a injury or soreness, sciatic nerve pain, lumbar pain, and I've also got an opportunity to meet other patients who've come in here who've had knee injuries and shoulder injuries, and all of them have talked about how they've been able to recover and attribute it quite a bit to what we're doing here. So I definitely made the right decision, and if I had to do it again, I would do it again.